Okay, here I am at St Helens, and since we've had a bit of rain over the last few days, definitely had a good old bounce with the nectar harvest. So I can talk to you directly because I'm holding you out of the tripod just to show you at the minute. So this is the super. So if you recall, brood box, a little bit of brown plastic between is the queen excluder, and then the super is where the honey goes because the queen can't get up there to lay any eggs. Now, this is some leftover fondant from last year, but as you can see, they're so not interested in it that they're actually covering it in propolis now, so I'll scrape that off, but they've not touched it. It's rock hard now. But looking down here at this beautiful white wax capping off frames of honey. Now if we compare, you can see this one, every single cell is capped apart from just a few here. This one further out to the edge, a few more uncapped cells, lots of uncapped cells here as we go through the middle, capped, 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 and then much less at this side. You can see down in the cracks before I even inspect, much less work there. So I'll put you in the tripod and then I'll have to join you in voiceover, and we can just have a little look at this. Now what I'll probably do, I probably won't harvest this today. Now it's not going to go anywhere now, it's in the comb, unless we have some sort of disaster that makes the bees immensely hungry. But I will add another layer, and what I'll do is I'll actually probably put the other layer under this rather than over it, because the bees like to have it near the top, and quite often if you put an empty one on top of this, they just move their existing honey up, and rather than waste their time doing that, I'll put the next one under there for them. So I will join you in voiceover in a moment. So just to give you the contrast here, here's one where they're just about bringing out the wax, but there's no honey in that comb yet. They're just preparing that comb to get them started with just a little bit in the cells that I'm indicating there. And now as we work the next one in, as I hold it up to the camera, you'll see that they are filling these cells with nectar, so that's glistening there, but it isn't capped off yet because they haven't been able to evaporate the moisture off enough. That'll still be over that 19% water. Working further in, you see there's much more complete on that one, and just beginning to cap a few of the ones on the other side. And so they work from the middle outwards usually, so as I'm working from the outside in, we're getting to see that progression in a more sort of chronological order, that outermost one will follow these other ones that I'm showing you. And so the next one in, bashing it into the camera for you there, is a little bit further progressed. Now I've stabilised it, so you see much more capping, some cells completely capped, and they're working from the top down there. And now at this stage I just interrupt myself because you see I've managed to drop a little bit of fondant down through the frames onto the queen excluder there, and so I'm just going to jump ahead to putting the new super in underneath. So you see I have to crack that propolis. It's been on long enough for the bees to really stick that down nicely, and then that exposes the little bit of fondant that's fallen through, makes it much easier to get out than trying to reach down through the comb there. Sadly these gloves still haven't softened up quite enough, so I'm a little bit fumble fingered. I have some gloves that are nice and soft, but as I work through my box of them, I end up with the newer ones that are still a little bit brittle. So I'm just smoking the bees there to get them off that queen excluder, just particularly off the edges where the crush zone is. So as I put this on, I shouldn't squash any. So then another visual check, just to pause, and then you'll see I'm offsetting this a little bit away from the camera because of that one on the far edge. So she'll be on the inside edge of that, and then as I push in, that will have then pushed her into the centre area safely. And so here, very near to the centre, where things will be at their best. So just adjust my grip to show you. You'll see really beautifully, nearly all capped, just a little bit at the bottom there. And then just pull off those little bits of fondant that they don't need anymore. And then the centre one, which should really be finished, the very peak of what they've got done. And again, I'll just adjust my grip to show you. You see we've got all bar that little corner there. So that would be takeable. Those ones at the bottom corner are fine. So you could take that and harvest it, but I won't, because our extraction area isn't ready yet. I've got to do a bit more setting up for that, so I'll let the bees look after that for us. But then working back out to the other edge will be much the same. But that will hopefully show you where we're at with the honey harvest. Now, this is some of the very first ones that are starting to look good, but we will see much more of this as the season progresses. So I hope that you've enjoyed that, and I will see you next time.